Hi, welcome to another video, and in this video I'm going to be talking about which Porsche models to avoid and which Porsche models to go ahead and buy right now. There are a lot of Porsches to choose from, and every one of them is expensive. The base Macan, which is the cheapest model in the lineup, starts at $57,500. You really want to be careful with your choice of Porsche, as you'll end up falling into a money pit if you don't get the right one, and you'll probably be unsatisfied with your purchase because you may end up spending too much money. And so without further ado, let's begin. Now, the first model I highly recommend to go right ahead and buy one is of course the 718 Cayman GT4 RS, if you can get an allocation for one. The 718 Cayman GT4 RS, as you may know, has gotten ridiculously high praise and deserves it. It is the last of its kind. Power comes out at 4-liter flat 6. It has near 500 horsepower and does 0-60 in a very brisk 3.2 seconds. You know a car is serious when it swaps out its windows for air vents. And that's exactly what the Cayman GT4 RS has. The only time you'll want to avoid this car is if you're planning on using this car to solve your one car solution. At this price point, if you want to do that, a 911 might be the better choice. But if you have a second car, and most buyers of this car this car would be an absolute blast to own if you can find an allocation and no markups, of course. Now, the second Porsche you should go right ahead and buy is the Macan S. Now, I can already hear the Porsche enthusiasts screaming at me saying that, oh, the Macan S is not real Porsche. It doesn't have its engine behind the rear axle. It is an SUV, and SUVs suck. But for what it is, the Macan S is a great car. It drives very well, and it has reasonable power. It does 0-60 in 4.6 seconds, which is very quick for a mid-range model like the Macan S. It's also the more quote-unquote affordable Porsches at $68,400. And if you can afford it, go for it. It's surprisingly usable despite its smaller size, and it should be everything you need in a car, unless you need a third row or a bigger cargo area. This will also be the last of its kind, with the new Macans being electric. If you really do want an internal combustion engine Macan, this is the one that you should be getting. The third Porsche I recommend you buying is the Taycan GTS Sport Turismo. It uses the turbo's power chain, but it doesn't have the turbo's price. The reason is that it's slightly detuned. Power in overboost mode is 590 horsepower, which is 80 horsepower less than the turbo. The GTS also gets some sportier stuff, such as the sportier electric sport sound, extra sportier features, rev brake calipers, etc. etc. This is only the model that is available in Sport Turismo form in the States. If you want the wagon form, you'll get the body cladding if you don't get the GTS, which for some is not very good looking. And of course it starts at a relatively expensive $146,000. So this definitely isn't the car for regular people. The fourth Porsche I recommend you buying is the 911 Carrera. No, it's not S or 4S or GTS. When buying this car, you might be worried that it might be slow and might not be engaging enough. Don't worry, it's every bit as good as the S or GTS. 0-60 passes in 4 seconds, paired that with the PD8K transmission. It goes. It really does. It's every bit worth $106,000. The only reason I can see why you want an S is for that manual transmission. And if you go for a manual transmission, it's a worth it upgrade for the S. But otherwise, just go for the base Carrera. The fifth and last Porsche I recommend is the 718 Cayman GTS 4.0. It starts at more than 90 grand, which is a relatively hefty price tag, especially for a Cayman. But I take this over the 911 every day of the week. It ain't slow. Top speed is 182 miles per hour, and it's engaging most of all. Another model I recommend is the Boxer counterpart. These are basically the same models, except one has a folding soft top. The power comes from, of course, a 40 naturally aspirated flat 6. The reason I recommend this is because it's the last time we're probably going to see something like this.